All right, so we're going to use the greatest common factor, the GCF, in order to just factor out of a binomial and a trinomial and set it up so we can go a little bit further with the math. So you're going to notice we have 28x cubed plus 21x squared, and we need to find what the greatest common factor is from these. On a previous video, we did this, but in case you haven't seen it, I'm going to write it down. We have 28x cubed and we have 21x squared. So we're going to break it down. I'm going to say, well, we have 4 times 7, x times x times x, and we have 21x squared, which is 3 times 7, x times x. Now, when we find the greatest common factor, we look for all the things that they have in common. That's why it's called common factor. Okay, so x and x, x and x, and 7 and 7. Okay, those are the main things they have in common. So the greatest common factor is 7x squared. So when we factor out, let's go back to this statement. I'm going to take the greatest common factor. I'm going to say 7x squared goes on the outside. Well, if I do that, well, then I have to ask myself what goes here and what goes here. So we've divided out 7x squared. So what is 28x cubed divided by 7x squared? Well, that is 4x, which would be left over. Now check it out. Bink, bink. It's right there, 4x. So I put 4x right here. Now I'm going to take 21x squared, and I'm going to divide that by our greatest common factor, which is 7x squared. So the x squareds are going to cancel. And I've got 21 over 7, which is 3. So this would become 3. And now we can always check it out. I love to use Desmos for this to make sure I've done things correct. So I'm going to take 28x cubed plus 21x squared. Okay, there is the original graph. And now I'm going to type in 7x squared, 4x plus 3. So 7x squared, parentheses 4x plus 3, and notice what happens. They overlap, and that means that they're exactly the same, and that verifies that a lot of the work that we have done could be the correct answer. So let's go on to the next one, and we will go down to where it says 6m squared plus 12m minus 144. And we are going to look for a greatest common factor in this case. So I have 6m squared, I have 12m, and I have minus 144. Now, the nice thing is they don't all have an m. And because they don't all have an m, their greatest common factor will not have an m. We really just need to find out what will divide 6, 12, and 144. And we can break them all down, but a lot of times I like to go ahead and just check. The lowest one has the greatest common factor in it, so 6, okay, out of 144 and 12. I know this is a negative, but I'm just looking at the value of 144. So let's look at that 6, okay, and I'm going to take 12 and I divide it by 6. Well, that works. And then I'm going to take 144 and I'm going to divide it by 6. And that also works, okay? And I know that 6 divides 6. So that tells me that the greatest common factor automatically can only be 6. And since there is no m on this guy right here, on that 144, there is no m on the GCF, okay? At this point, we just divide it out. I break it into its pieces and think of it that way. 6m divided by 6, which is m squared. I take 12m divided by 6, which is 2m. And then I take negative 144 and I divide it by 6. And if we go back to Desmos, 144 divided by 6 is 24. It's a negative, so it'd be negative 24. And notice the, there we go, it'll be negative 24, but the subtraction is already written there. And that is how we take greatest common factors out of a polynomial.